And good evening. It is now almost 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And the breaking news is I'm going to start my live chat at 7 p.m. I just got in from visiting my friend the barber, and I kind of did my yearly trim. I was getting to look a little too like a bush. So, um, anyway, this will last me until next year, about the same time. And it's going to be Christmas in a few days, and I've always celebrated Christmas 365. I was never a person who believed in Christmas was only one day. I felt that Christmas was every day. And when I was visiting my friend the barber, I got there and he wasn't there, so I kind of took a little nap in my car, and he just kind of driven in, and I was getting out, and by the time I got in, there were like five people already waiting to get their hair cut. So I just kind of sat down and talked to him and talked to other folks. And the first, it was two moms with their kids, right? So the kids were getting their trim for Christmas, and so were the moms. The moms were getting their trim, not at the beauty parlor, but from the barber. So anyway, so I just sat there and talked to everyone as they were getting their hair cut, and the barber, he is truly, um, he exemplifies the barber, meaning you go and get your hair cut not just for getting your hair cut, but to commune with the rest of the people waiting, and they talk, and we all talk to each other, and it's a community central. It's like, and this is a barbershop, not so much of the rich and famous or even the white and the middle class. This is people of the community, right? And so the barber basically takes whatever you can afford, not $22, not $25, not 135, but whatever you can afford. And because he understands that part of fitting into the community is looking pretty good. So, and this, so you give pretty much all the time you go visit the barber, and you just whatever you can afford, right? Some people give them more than what other people because they know that they're making up for the people who can't afford it. And the barber, on every holiday, has a day or so before that holiday where normally he doesn't. He's not really a morning guy. He shows up after noon, and works until the evening times to when he goes off and has a good time. And that's what the barber does. Now on Saturdays, a little different. He tries to get there by 10 a.m. and work until about 7, and then he goes off Saturday evening and does what he does. But that day or two before every holiday, Christmas, Easter, Kwanzaa, Rosh Hashanah, Valentine's Day. I mean, he's got a whole bunch of them. He's very across the board, everybody's holidays. He does a day or so, usually a Monday, mm, where he does a free day, where people come in and, if you can't, if you're a poor person, not just, a lower middle class person, but a poor person, he does it for free. And that's when, ooh, it's like, oh. So anyway, and around Christmas, I have my Christmas hat, and I have a red, shirt and red pants, and I go in there, and I sit there, and no one gets on my lap, but I just mingle with everyone. Oh, look at Santa, and I say, no, I'm Santa's younger brother, Bob, and I take care of the naughty nice list. And let's see, have you been nice? And we go through it, and we talk about that Christmas is 365, not one day of the year. And what is a birthday, right? So, what was really sweet today, while I was sitting there talking to the barber and people getting their haircut, and I was waiting so I was on fifth online, right? Even though I was the first in the parking lot, um, those who, but anyway, those folks needed to get on their way, and I had all day too. And so I wanted to spend, a few hours with my friend, the barber, and listen to how he interacts with everyone because it's a true joy. And one of the best interactions was this little young man who wanted, cool haircut, right? And, he wanted kind of, this and racing stripes and all of that kind of cool stuff. And so, and his mother wanted him to be happy and look good for Christmas. So she was all down on it. And she got the same thing. She got the same kind of square kind of haircut and round at the back and the little light. So she looked very much like her son. But anyway, um, so the barber's talking to this young man. He's probably maybe 8. And so the barber asks him, "So what's up today?" And he goes, "Oh, it's my birthday, and we're gonna, Mom's taking me to McDonald's. That's his favorite place to go, but they can't afford to go there too often. But it's his birthday, right? He can have anything he wants. He's going to get a parfait first, and then he's going on about that." And the barber goes, "So it's your birthday. So what do you think about being another year older?" And the kid goes, "Well, it's another year, and not really, it's like last year." Yes. And so the barber says to the little boy, "So your mom's, this is a special day, right?" And, "Oh yeah, she every birthday, this is like, this is better than Christmas. It's close to Christmas, not Christmas. I still get Christmas presents, but it's, I have a couple of friends who have their birthday on Christmas and they don't like it. But mine's just before, so I have my birthday and I have Christmas just a few days later." And so the barber goes to the little boy, "So have you ever thanked or said happy birthday to your mom on your birthday?" And he goes, "Why would I do that?" And the barber goes, "Well, because your mother was instrumental in bringing you into the world. She carried you for 9 months. She nourished you. She fed you. She took care of you while you were not even here." And basically the kid goes, "What do you mean?" And, the barber explains it all to him, right? The birds and the bees and the whole thing. A very, very amazingly appropriate age response, um, because it was about love and responsibility and those kind of things instead of the raw details of the birds and the bees. And the kid is actually going, huh, right? So after he gets his, it's all done and the robe's taken off and he dusted the hair off, and the kid goes over to his mom and grabs around the neck and says, "Thank you, Mom. I never really realized that I love you so much." And the mom, a tear down her face. And that's what the barber does, not just cut your hair. So all these barbershops where that doesn't happen, it's sad because that's, my grandfather was a barber. And he was like, that's why I'm, drawn to barbers, And my friend, he is, you know, very much like my grandfather. My grandfather used to do that. And so we were talking, after that one, and another little kid got in the seat. I said, when I was a little kid, I used to, on certain, a couple of days a week, I would go over to my grandpa's in the morning, and I would be, his shop. He had this whole wall of shelves that had, mugs with soap in it and a brush and a name. And each man would come in and get a shave every morning, before he got on the Long Island Railroad and went into New York and was an executive. My grandfather would shave them. He would do, a good 40 shaves, between 6 a.m. and 10, right? and then it would lighten up. But at least 3 days of the week, especially, um, well, because I didn't have to get to school until 9. So I would, whenever, at least 3 days of the week, maybe 4, sometimes, 6. My grandfather worked 6 days a week. I would go and do it, and because the shoe shine guy would do it if wasn't there, and he just wanted to focus on shoe shining, right? Didn't want to have to go get the thing. So the guy, who's the shoe shine guy, was happy that I would go and do that, right? And if the shoe shine guy wasn't there and I wasn't there, the girl who did the guy's nails would have to do it, and she didn't like that at all. So it was like a real joyous kind of family at the barbershop. And other than my grandfather's and 2 or 3 other barbers I would, go to, the barber um, of the present day that I visited today is the only person who comes close to my um, grandfather. Now he doesn't do shaving, and but he's a real barber. He knows the whole history. He was a barber surgeon. Hey, Jamie Hillier, good to see you, my friend. And so this is breaking news, and I'm telling everyone that I'm going to have my. Um, I just got in, and I wanted to breathe a little bit, and then I wanted to go make myself a little din din before I went into um, tonight's thing. And tonight, again, I'm going to teach a lesson. I don't know, Jamie, were you on last night? Because um, have been teaching from one of my courses. I've taught many courses, right? And I have syllabusi, and that's what this is. This course is breaking habitual. I can't read in the dark. Habitual actions by meditation and deep breathing. So I've gotten into this course, and in the last when I was talking to you from the coal pit, I read a little bit of it, and then last night I read some more, and tonight I'm going to get deeper into the lessons of it. Right, the 4 or 5 pages that I've read so far have been more a primer of that. Yeah, I get that. A lot of people. I can see there's 8 or so people watching it, and maybe 3 commenting, and I understand. And conversely, a lot of people of that 350 something, subscribers, which I call my adepts, the cadre, um, they watch it really almost religiously. And a number of them said, I don't watch TV anymore. I don't look at the internet anymore other than you. And I keep it on you have so many shows. I just keep rolling it over to show to show to show. And it's like me having you're my companion, you're my friend, So I understand a lot of people watch that, even if they're not, subscribed. And so, and that's what I'm here to do. I'm the pebble in the pond, I don't need to be super famous or go, um, what do they call it, viral, etc. And and I know, the hidden hand and YouTube, which are synonymous, kind of, keep me at a certain place. It's okay that I'm here, but they sure don't want a zillion people, becoming enlightened. But they do understand that um, the teachings like this, because there are other people doing amazing work too on YouTube and on their own uh, blogs and their own websites, and that's really good. I mean, that is one of the things that gives us hope that things are changing, and they are changing. Right now, the hidden hand has been an esoteric occult entity for millions of years. It's not just recent. It's just not a new thing. It's not just the Illuminati, which is really only been around since Albert Pike in the early part of the 19th century, and the other guys who were around, during the you know 18th and 19th century and the 17th century, and then there were the mystery schools that were around, from Egypt till today, right? And then before that, they were the builders and the ancients, right? That have been around a millions of years, and the hidden hand is part of all of that, right? So, um, aho, thank you, Jan. And so, yeah, sometimes I can get a little disappointed, and but that's only because I'm a human being. I'm not a perfect master. I'm not even a master. I'm just your sensei Al Bob, And if you were in Japan, pretty much the word sensei means, your teacher, like, Mrs. Gerling in kindergarten, or Mr. Morales in fourth grade, or Mr. Care, in fourth grade, and Mr. Bukar in my high school, and I've had some very good senseis in my beginning, right? And then I started to have masters. Grandpa Stahl was a master. Madame Olga Kluber was a master. The old crone was a master, right? And that's just another kind of few steps above being your sensei, right? And being a shaman, that is just a cultural difference from being a sensei. Sensei comes from the Japanese, that's the Japanese word, and shaman is kind of that, but with a more little twist, right? So that's me. I'm a little twist, I'm like twist today like it was last summer. Chubby checker. And that's I just keep plugging along, That's I survived that bowl of spaghetti, and when I went home and they said, nope, you got to go back, I realized, okay, I have to, stop being Mr. Hedonist, lose that 270 pounds so I don't have to lose my legs or have my, you know, guts replumbed. Oh, you need a quadruple bypass. No. And it, put me in a place that actually prepared me for whatever's coming next, which is a good thing, right? Question: how long have we crossed paths, forming inner links? Oh, I'd say at least 6 billion years, you know, because there is no time. You know, our experience, our science, which is a joke, um, uh, views everything in a linear, meaning they see everything in the Hertzian frequency, X and Y. And in it, you know, Einstein said, there's, X and Y and time, right? And so we're kind of stuck on this time thing, but it's just an illusion. But so within the construct of our, meat puppet self, our illusion, it's 6 billion years, that we have been crossing paths, right? The west of Europe. Yeah, you are as west as you can get. And that's what I loved about Ireland, especially when I lived in Glendora and all those fishermen, we would go out. I would every now and then I'd feel if it was a beautiful day, it wasn't too cold, the shop wasn't too big. I would go out with these guys because they would have loads of fun, and not only were they fishing, they would meet up with other boatsmen out there, and they kind of had a little, what would you call it, yard sale out there, off the any legal roadway, and so we'd have some interesting conversations and interesting sharing and caring, and and that was fun. So I liked going out um, on the water. I'm not really a big, if it's a beautiful day, I love being on the water. If it's a choppy, stormy, then these guys will go out in any weather. No, I went out once. Twice I've been in that environment. And after the first time, I swore I'd never do it. The second time, I went out and because we were going to have one of these swap meets, and they said, "Oh, don't worry, that storm's going to be the other way." And no, we were in that storm, and we were out there for a while because we couldn't get back in without really threatening the boat. So yeah, when it's choppy like that, no, I'm not a big fan. But when it's really nice, you can't beat being out on the ocean. It's because that's kind of almost biologically where we came from. And and here in the west of Europe, and when I was there in the '80s, it was really that little town of Glendore in Skibbereen was really interesting because there were a lot of people from Europe that had gone there because when you know Ronald Reagan was trying to be hard ass and bring the Pershing 2 missiles, which would have put nuclear weapons right on Russia's doorstep. And if they were fired, from the moment they took off to the moment they, detonated somewhere over Russia, the amount of time was like 6 minutes. I mean, that's nothing to think about, just barely enough to launch all of your hardened ICBMs and obliterate North America. So they hadn't quite got it, but people were like getting out of Dodge in Europe. They're getting out of, Germany. They were getting out of everything that was a tripwire. And they were moving to Ireland because that was as west as you could get. And the radiation would have to go all the way around the world and come up through Africa and South America and North America and then come across the Atlantic before it got to Ireland. It didn't, the winds were going, east to west or west to east, whatever that direction, coming from North America to Europe. So a lot of very interesting people who were scholarly and but they just said, screw this. I'm giving up whatever. I'm just going to go to the west coast of Ireland, take whatever few nickels I have. And at that time, early 80s, you could buy almost anything in Ireland. I should have, but I didn't. And because I always could make a good nickel, so I lived very well wherever I was, spent every nickel I had. And if I was someplace, I would do an electric job or two wherever I was because everybody needs electricity. And, anyway, that was then. But I know exactly what you're talking about, Jamie. And were you on the west coast of Ireland in the 80s? Because we might have crossed paths. And I have a number of friends that, in the early O's, I bumped into them. And then we became good friends. And then as we would talk about our stories, you were there, I was there too, so was I, And, I have about 10 friends that I crossed paths over 30 years, meaning we were in the same, we saw the same amazing thing. We were in the same place. And it was like, I have some retired military folks that I was, when I was in Los Alamos, San Diaz, Kirkland Air Force Base out there in France and a few other places. I saw things and they were there too. But I didn't meet them there, but they were there. And other teachers I had in Europe, they studied with them too. It was, I met a number of people who knew the old crone, had a similar, they met them or were exposed to them in Dublin, and then would travel to the West Coast and bump into her there. And it was quite interesting. So I have a group of about 10 or 20 friends that are like you, Jamie, that we crossed paths, but, missed each other. And then later on, like right here, we're meeting each other. West Coast, Canada at that time. Okay, West Coast, really? Boy, at that time, the West Coast of Canada was beautiful. I went to the West, I've been to the West Coast 3 times. And one of the times it was one was in the 60, 70 period, and I was in the Haight-Ashbury when Earth People's Park was kind of, uh, put up together by Wavy Gravy and his buddies, and it was down in the Haight, and it was a disgusting, garbage pit. We cleaned it all up. Wavy came from a very rich family, so he always had deep pockets, and he bought a lot of materials, and we built, Japanese temples, and we basically made a park, and we planted big trees, and we put sod down, and we took it from this toxic waste dump and turned it into this beautiful thing. And because, see, and we weren't hippies, we were flower children, and Ronald Reagan was, politically there, and he was still doing the GE show. I mean, see, Ronald Reagan did the same thing as Donnie Trump. I mean, he was hired by GE. He did a TV show that kind of got him ready for politics. And then, first he did, state politics, then became governor, and, then started working towards being president. And so we were there when Ronald Reagan was politically powerful enough to basically bring in the National Guard and bulldozers and basically, scraped that little bit of heaven off of, San Francisco's Haight-Ashbury and replaced the garbage. He turned it back into a cesspool. It was pretty freaking amazing. Yep. And Jamie says, interesting. I've had relates like that. Soul matches on other continents. Crazy realities from direct experience. Yep, exactly. And when you're open to that, that's when you can change. When you are like, holding a certain belief pattern, and that's what religions are. Now, I'm not if that religion is helping you out to be a good person, hey, I'm all for it, But if that religion is giving you the auspices to oppress, and like Christianity, like the Spaniards did to all of the indigenous people of Central and South America, like the Europeans, the French and the English did, and the Dutch did to North America and Canada, and parts of Africa, bringing slaves to America. Right? These are the things we have to start looking at. And I forgot the guy who wrote this book. Really a young black author, and he was a writer, but he wrote this Between the World and Me, I think it was called. Great book, amazing book. And then he wrote an article in The Atlantic about after the Civil War, black folk were promised 40 acres and a mule, and they never got it. And Gil Scott-Heron has a great song about, waiting for the man from Washington, and he's never coming. So you better step up yourself, And that's where I got the term, better to step up than to be stepped on. Gil Scott-Heron, that's somebody everyone should go check out. He's a really amazing dude, right? So when this thing hits 30 minutes and 30 seconds, Jamie, and the other 5, I'm going to bail and make myself dinner for, in the next half an hour, and then come back at 7. So pass the word that we're going to have a nice lesson and a nice, 2-hour chat. But I want to get I don't have my glass of water next to me, and I'm making some soup, so it's cold, and so I want to get a nice bit of soup in me. So, yes, every day an eye opener, right? And that's a good thing, just keep opening our eyes, So, I had a good day with the barber. And I'm going to have a good evening with you guys. So, Jamie, I hope to see you in another half an hour from now. And go past the word, you five. Let's see if we can get 20 people watching. That would be fun. And as many of that 20 who want to, um, like Jamie here has been chatting very nicely, meaning putting in an input every day, an eye opener. I kind of envy those born in 1950, like you and my blood brothers. You lived a life I kind of coveted. Well, you can still live in it. The 1950s and 60s, everyone thought was brain dead time, but no, it was interesting. And it was kind of easier because the people who were real obvious. They were like, there you are, and the rest of the people who were just having their lives, they didn't care. It wasn't tribalized. They didn't, I don't know how many times people would say, "Boy, Al, you are a different breed of cat," and we love you for that. It's always interesting to hear you talk about stuff. It's always fun to do things with you. You bring us out of ourselves. But if there were any more of you, we'd have to kill you all. So back in the 50s and 60s, it was, and there were these people who were old. I mean, I was always the kid until around, well, about year 2000. I stopped being the kid around 2000, and that was 50 years. You know, I stopped being the kid at 50. You know, and so because there were still these great luminescent guides, right? There aren't too many left, and so after about 30 years of fooling around. And I finally, I died a sixth time and didn't die. As Magic Max and Princess Bride would say, he's almost dead, not quite dead, right? So I experienced that a good deal. And every time I would see, the guys, I would go back home and I would be in Shangri-La, not quite heaven, but Shangri-La. And they would say, great job. You're doing a great job. You got to go back. But no, got to go back. You will thank us for sending you back, because if you come home now, karmically you'll have to go back, and you might even be stupider the next time around. You're still a moron, but next time may be worse. So keep doing it. Keep plugging. Keep working to ascend. And so you get to that point, and you get up a little bit. When you do enter your karmic wheel, you will be prepared so you can choose where you want to go instead of being thrown into the roulette wheel, right? So that's where we're at. Oh, it's going to 33. Okay, so when it hits 33, I'm going to jump off and make myself some soup, and I'll be back in a half an hour around 7 p.m. And I'll turn the light on so I can read. Okay, here we are, 22, 23. Yep, the truthful will out. 29, 30, 1, 2, 3. Come on. Come on. There we go.